Hi, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Today, I'll be setting up my August planner pages. This video is coming out later than I wanted, but I was in a bit of a creativity slump, so I decided to go back to basics, and I'll be using these washi tapes from Archer and Olive. I just chose some of my favorite designs from the Moonlit Garden and Firefly Night collections. I'll also be using some coordinating markers and pens. I'm using a deep navy colored Papermate Flair pen to write the August header in faux calligraphy. I'm adding the first 2 days of August to the same spread as the last 5 days of July because I like to have all 7 days of the week on one spread. Having the end of one month on the same spread as the start of the next month means I usually don't have space for a monthly title page. I also don't create monthly calendars because I don't use them. Plus, I like to have one journal for the whole year, so I have to be a little conservative with what spreads I include. Those cute kitty paws belong to my cat Fig. I apologize for the shaky camera. He likes to come supervise my work and rub his face on the camera. For the full week spreads in August, I'm putting the monthly header in the center, straddling the binding. I'm making all of the downstrokes thicker to create the faux calligraphy look. I'm not very good at brush lettering, so I'm going with the faux calligraphy instead. I'm also adding a few simple oval leaf shapes to the tail end of the T to tie in with the garden botanical motif in the washi tapes. The last day of August is a Sunday, so this last spread will only have one day on it until I add the first 6 days of September. Now I'm going to add my daily headers in cursive with the same dark navy Papermate Flair, and I'm including the simple leaves as well. I like all of my weekly spreads for the month to have the same layout, so only the decoration will be slightly different from week to week. This month, the daily boxes are lined up in the center in 2 columns, one for each day of the week and one for notes. With the headers done, I can start adding washi tape. For this first partial spread, I added the medium width washi so it flows with the Peanuts washi I used for my July spreads. For the full weekly spreads, I'm going to alternate the 2 thicker width washi tapes along the bottom, mostly because I couldn't decide which one I like better. I'm using an X-Acto knife to cut the washi straight down the binding to ensure it won't affect how the notebook closes. I also had to trim a sliver off the left side because it was a bit too long. Along the top, I'm stacking the 2 thinner washis on top of each other. I cut the outer ends of the washi against the edge of a metal ruler to create a straight edge. But I'll leave the center edge of the washi around the monthly header as a torn edge. Then the rest of the weekly spreads will have different combinations of washi along the top and bottom. I purposely left the 2 wide columns on both sides blank. That is my flex space. I usually use that space for journaling and memory keeping, but I could use it for habit trackers, extra planning space, or whatever I need that week. These weekly spreads have a lot of blank space right now, but at the end of August, all of this space is going to be filled in. I'm relying on these washi tapes pretty heavily to be my focal point of the decor for these spreads, but I don't want the center of the spreads to be too plain. So I'm taking a turquoisey Crayola Super Tip and adding a bit of color to each of the leaf shapes in the headers. I'm just doing a quick flick of color on each leaf and not trying to be too neat about it. Then I'm using a yellow Papermate flare to sprinkle some small yellow dots around the headers. I'm trying to create a glowy firefly effect, so I'll go back with a gold Jelly Roll pen to draw a small dot inside each of the yellow dots. With the weekly spreads done, I will flip to the front of the journal where I have set aside pages for my health tracker spreads. I like to have all of my health tracker spreads together for easy reference. I use two 2-page spreads for each monthly health tracker. So I'm going to trim the edge of the center page off to create a Dutch door. I'm protecting the pages underneath with a small cutting mat. Then I'm rounding the corners with my corner punch. I'm turning the notebook sideways so I can put my header in along the right side of the spread. I placed another journal down to use as a hand rest while I'm writing along the edge. I penciled in the lettering so I could try to make it as centered as possible. And I'm using the same deep navy Papermate flare and faux calligraphy I used on the weekly spreads. You can also see the tabs I made last December when I was setting up this journal and reserving these pages for each month's health tracker. I don't do a lot of decorating in my health tracker spreads, but I do like for them to coordinate with the rest of the spreads for the month. So I will finish off the header with the turquoisey Crayola Super Tip, the yellow dots, and the gold dots. Along the left margin, I'll add the numbers and first letter of each day in August. I created the Dutch doors so the header and the days of the month are visible from any page of the health tracker. Then I'll take the yellow Papermate flare to draw a line between the days of the month and the space I will use to add the data I want to track. Along the top of the spread, I'm using the gold Jelly Roll pen to create the brackets where I will list everything I want to track in August. The columns are 2 dot grid spaces wide, except for the last one, which is 3 dot grid spaces wide, where I track the low and high temperature for each day. The other columns will be used to track things like my sleep quality, what time I take my meds, pain level, whatever I want to keep track of that month. The top end of each bracket is angled 2 dots to the right of the base to give me a little bit more space to write on the line. I'm using the yellow Papermate flare to draw a line between Saturday and Sunday to create a visual separation between the weeks. If you're interested in more information about how I use my health tracker, I have a video I will link in the description. Flipping over to the next spread, I'm using the gold jelly roll to create a column on the left, which will be my exercise activity log. The next column is where I list my AM, evening, and late meds, and the whole right page is for notes. I'm writing the titles for each of these sections with the navy blue Papermate Flair. The notes section is where I can add anything that comes up that doesn't fit anywhere else in the health tracker. For example, I can keep track of any discussions I have with my doctor. Flipping back to the first page of this tracker, I will fill in the headers for the first few columns so you can get an idea of how it will look. I'm using a 0.7 Pentel Energel in turquoise in a Clenna body. And I will fill in the rest of the brackets at the beginning of August because I will sometimes adjust the things I want to track from month to month. With that done, we are ready for the final flip through. Starting with the first 2 days of August, sharing a spread with the last 5 days of July. These weekly spreads are fairly simple, but luckily I have some pretty washi tapes I can rely on when I fall into a creativity slump. The last day of August is looking a little lonely right now, but eventually the first 6 days of September will be added to this spread. And my health tracker spread is all set up and ready to get filled out. As I was recording this voiceover, I realized I forgot to draw yellow lines between each week in the exercise activity column. I will need to go back and fix that. So that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I will see you next time.